Sunset skies, trade winds flow, stories, laughs, and island glow. It's the Gavin Ramon Show. Oh, it's the Gavin Ramon Show. Sunset skies, trade winds flow, stories, laughs, and island glow. It's the Gavin Ramon Show. Let's go, I'll let to the world and to the score.
Here goes absolutely nothing. Here goes nothing. Welcome back to the Gavin Ramon show after 2 months away living in the wilderness of the world that is 2026. I'd like to start by apologising for being away for so long. That was never my intention, but there's been circumstances and life that's been happening. So it's been very difficult for me to get myself in the right frame of mind to be back here presenting. And about an hour ago, up until about an hour ago, I felt great. And then I was just like, oh crap, I've got to go in front of a camera again and I've got to like speak to like people. And I just got really anxious. So that's where I am. And I hope everyone else is doing great. Yeah, and it's second nature, isn't it? Yeah, it's easy. It's easy. Uh, uh, what do I do? I'm joking. No, I'm good. I'm good. I've just had family problems. As you know, parents, they obviously get older. So it's been, I won't go into too much detail, but it's been a difficult time. Thankfully, things are looking okay at the moment. But it's been really, really difficult the last sort of 6 to 8 weeks, probably longer than that. But this last 6 to 8 weeks have been, really, really stressful. So I have been keeping up with the news, obviously, not as much as I normally do. But God, my God. I mean, I posted a video earlier about this Jason Arday thing. And I just a brief overview for all of you that are watching. If you've not watched my video, I just think it's a bunch of hypocrites that are complaining about the harassment. I mean, the guy's life's been, it's gone. I think it's tragic. But the amount of people in this country on the left who have completely overshadowed all of the lies, the potential fraud, the fact that it's destroyed the lives of students with fake education, the money that it's cost has been completely overshadowed by those on the left, like Dr. Shola, Kehinde Andrews, Narinder Kaur, the usual suspects, all screaming racism. And I'll get into that in the video because it's not racist. It's just they're doing this to cover up DEI, to cover up the failures of someone, to cover up Cambridge, who should be held completely responsible. And they've learned nothing from this. They've learned nothing from this. But we'll get into that at some point. Hello, Ben. How are you doing? Hello, Roops. How you doing, Roops? How you doing, Kiz? Marty? How you all doing? Is everyone in a good place in life? Is everyone doing all right? Because you know me, I'm about to unleash fury. Ah, Cloud, how you doing, my friend? Eh? You little sexy minx, you. It's been a while, isn't it? I'll tell you one thing before we get into the news. Supergirl was terrible. What an awful movie. What was the other one that came out? That Obsession. Didn't like that either. I bet you are, Ben. The ladies' man. Ben, the ladies' man. All right. You've had enough of me waffling. Let's get into our very first show. And as I say, we're going to be doing live again on Wednesday at 7 p.m. Tomorrow, videos at 4 p.m. every day. So put that in your diaries. 4 p.m. every day, we'll have a video coming out. So let's get into our first. Oh, this is weird. It's not weird putting on headphones because I'm a PC gamer now. Right, let's get into our first video and see what the heck is going on in the wonderful country that is England. Ben's a monk. I don't believe that, mate. Not calling you a liar, but you're a liar. I don't believe that, Ben. I'm not calling you a liar, but I don't believe you. Right, so are you guys ready to get into it? Because I sure as heck am. Hello, Spartan. Hey, yo. Hey, yo. Hope the cats are all okay. Right, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Gavin Ramon Show. Today we're kicking off with Sarah Pochin, who is Reform UK's MP for Runcorn and Helsby. And she's backing Reform's new welfare policy, which you might have seen all over the news the last sort of 12 hours, 24 hours, which would restrict almost all benefits to British citizens. So, welfare benefits. Reform says the current system has stopped rewarding work and is too generous to people who have not paid into Britain, which is hardly going to upset anyone who looks at their tax bill every month. But this interview gets much more interesting when Pochin starts talking about Muslim men with multiple wives claiming benefits for their families. God, here we go. I've only been away a couple of months and it's already gone to hell. Oh, God, here we go. Here we go. So it sounds completely ridiculous. So if there's one question worth keeping in mind while we're watching this, is Britain seriously paying benefits through rules which recognise marriages to multiple women? Let's get into it, shall we?
Got to stop. If you are not a British citizen, you don't get any. Yes, that may have implications with respect to a deal that has been done with the EU. But look, bring it on. We can't go on like this. We cannot be a welfare state for the world.
I mean, I imagine there are people sitting in Spain and Greece and Italy thinking, crikey, hang on a minute, what about our reciprocation? So Britain's living in the bloc could lose their rights to benefits. That will focus mine, shall I say. And also, it's quite interesting listening to people who are...
I mean, it could do harm and good for Reform, realistically, because the Reform, the benefits bill is absolutely astounding.
Are overseas saying, actually, it's very difficult to get benefits in France, in Italy, in Greece, in Spain, actually.
Not in England.
Exactly the point I was going to make. All this does is highlight just how easy it is to come to this country and claim benefit. It is not the same with our European neighbours. So I think that we will find that we are a lot better off if we enact this policy. But more than anything, it just makes sense, doesn't it? And as I said at the start, this is about restoring fairness to the British people, fairness to those people that go out and work every day.
So, I mean, basically, not just the benefits for people in the United Kingdom that are claiming, but for those that are coming into England, there's this big hoo-ha at the moment. Should people that are migrants and people come into this country, should they be able to claim housing? Should they be able to get any type of benefits? Personally, I don't think so. Not for at least 5 years. If they're here for 5 years, working and everything else, then, you know, they've put into the country. But if they're coming here strictly because they know that they can get benefits straight away, well, no. Because if you remove that one hurdle from the get-go, that's going to stop a lot of people coming here, as we're going to see in a video a little later on.
So that they feel that, quite rightly so, only those vulnerable people in society are actually getting that support that they need. And that will never change, whether it's veterans or children or disabled people, whoever's vulnerable. That will never change under a reform government. We are not disbanding PIP, we are reforming PIP.
I mean, I was quite surprised, and I had no prior knowledge of this, that Reform had gone out to the wicket with this kind of policy so far out from an election, because trying to reform benefits has been one of those kind of things that's very difficult to do.
I mean, let's just be straight up completely anyway. First off, no one who's coming into the country illegal should get benefits of any type whatsoever. Hotels, they shouldn't be given nothing. It should all be done offshore, go through the process of whether they're legal, illegal, dangerous, not dangerous, background checks. None of this is which has been done. And I'm going to get into a video later in the week, because this whole debacle about illegal immigration, it's been going, I mean, we've been talking about it for about a year, 2 years now. There's information that's coming out that they're not looking to slow it down to around 2036, 2039. And we're going to get into that later in the week, because the information that's coming out is absolutely repulsive.
But tried it, even modest reforms, then that got voted down by the backbenchers. The Tories are now talking about reforming benefits. Now Reform's talking about reforming benefits. Is there any... can you see any sort of situation where Reform and the Conservatives come together to realise that the right need to unite to ensure that things like benefit reform actually happens?
But look, the Conservatives had 14 years and they've just let the situation get ridiculous. I mean, we are now in a situation where our prisoners get benefits, where, Muslim men with multi-wives can claim benefits for all of their wives and all of their children. It's not even legal in this country to have more than one wife, and yet we're paying benefits out to
I mean, that's one thing that we need to talk about and get into at some point. More than one wife in the United Kingdom. This isn't an Arab state. This is not an Islamic state, you know? Then comes the argument of, the child marriage and all. Again, we'll get into all of that.
people like that. So whichever way you turn, you've got the Home Office allowing asylum seekers who've had their claims granted to bring in, 10, 20, 30 family members, all claiming benefits. It's absolutely got to stop. And under the Conservative government, they let it get this bad. So why would the British people have any faith whatsoever in the Conservative government fixing this?
I mean, that's a fair enough argument to make. I don't think any of us have much faith in the justice system, the government in this country, of any of it, because realistically, the whole thing about them releasing prisoners, I can't even believe. I mean, the world is looking at us and laughing. The world is looking at us at the moment and they're completely laughing at the criminals that have been released. They shouldn't even be in this country, half of them. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, so is Britain paying benefits through the rules which recognises, these multiple marriages? Yes. In a small number of cases, that is. That part of what she's saying is real. Universal credit does not recognise this multiple marriage debacle that she's talking about. You can't, because we don't recognise that in this country. So you do not have one man simply adding wife after wife after wife onto one universal credit claim, which opens the door to what could probably or potentially be fraud, which it is, But some older benefits, including housing benefits, still recognise certain multiple marriages legally entered into overseas, and the government confirmed in June of 2026 that those provisions still exist. The scale is tiny, but again, I don't know those numbers because they're never released. Fewer than 10,000, benefit households were recorded in the latest figures, but again, do I trust the government and their stats? Not really. And the DWP says those households receive no extra financial advantage compared to the additional spouse claiming separately. So what Sarah Poachin is pointing at is a genuine rule, but saying men simply claim extra money for every wife makes the system sound broader than the evidence actually supports. From my point of view, the stronger argument is simply, why does British welfare law here still contain special rules allowing these men to marry multiple women at all? This is England, mate. So let us know what you think, ladies and gents. We've got loads of stuff to get into. One woman is more than enough for 99% of men. We can't cope with one most of the time, never mind multiple women. I mean, I struggle with one of them, Ben. They're hard work. I've messaged Nikki, but she's got nothing back. She may be doing her hair. I mean, she wants to look lovely for all of us. So she may be doing her hair at the moment. That's what I'm going to go with. Right, let's get into our next one, boys and girls. So this next one, let me just double check we've got the right. Yeah, this is the one. Right, okay. Again, I've not had time to speak about this, but I've been keeping an eye on it, as have all of you. Even though we're sick of talking about it, it's getting worse. So let's get into our next story, ladies and gentlemen. Right, okay. So the next story, let's just get that page sorted. Right, cool. Ben, behave. So our next story is boatload of fury, migrant dinghies from China being sent to Europe via the UK. Robert Bates, the research director at the Centre of Migration Control, is talking to Jeremy Kyle, which was earlier on today, after a record 230 people crossed the channel in a single mega dinghy. Like a mega pint. Do you remember that? Was it Johnny Depp that came out? The mega pint, the mega dinghy. You've seen the picture, haven't you? It looks like one of those big holiday sausage. Was it the banana boats with 230 people on it? It's crazy, isn't it? While smugglers are moving towards bigger boats capable of carrying far more people at once. Bates argues politicians have spent years trying to manage the crossings instead of creating a serious deterrent. kind of like what we was just saying just now. If you're removing the opportunity to be putting free homes, free this, free that, money, benefits, if you remove that, that's a bigger deterrent than anything. And then he gives one number, which, if he's right, should make the taxpayers in the United Kingdom absolutely furious. So while you're watching this one, keep one question in mind, if as we're going through this, more than after more than 200,000 people have crossed the channel in small boats since 2018, has Britain seriously removed fewer than 5% of them? Crazy. I know. Less than 5%. Welcome to England.
I think actually now the political class have kind of got us in large part numb to this crisis, where we've almost sort of accepted or lost sense of the scale of the numbers. So I do think it's worth just reminding viewers, in 2018, across the whole of 2018, fewer than 300 migrants came across. That was a major incident. The Home Secretary was coming back from holidays. It was the front page of every single...
I've got to pause there because we do have to point out we always talk about it's majority men and everything else, which it is. It is. The thing I think is sick is that it's got Northern France. It says it there in the video, Northern France. Northern France isn't at war, the last time I checked. So there's this man here, like kind of where it says Hardelot, Northern France. Look at the guy in the black jumper, like with the patch on his arm, his right arm. And as he turns around, he's got a baby.
Across the whole of 2018.
Why would you risk putting a baby through that when you're in France? Why would you risk that?
Fewer than 300 migrants came across. That was a major incident. The Home Secretary was coming back from holidays. It was the front page of every single newspaper. We were incredibly concerned about this potential national security threat. 200,000 plus migrants later, and we've got boatload carrying across a year's worth effectively in one go. And I think, unfortunately, it's something where the government have adopted this very technical approach, and they're trying to tell us that it's something that needs to be solved with incredibly complicated...
Yeah, but it doesn't matter, does it? Because we're giving millions and millions to France. I don't know what for exactly.
Complicated, sophisticated...
Didn't they just give another 1.5 million to Pakistan yesterday? You know what I mean? We see what's going on in this country and we just give, yeah, go on, have some money. Go on, have some money. What about the British people?
Look at the NSA. No, it is. And everyone knows now it's a deterrent, it's a detention and deportation strategy, because even if another boat never crossed the channel, though, Jeremy, and this is the really important point, even if another migrant never crossed the channel, which is never going to happen, of course, we would still have a huge crisis on our hand. We still got over 200,000, mainly unvetted young men.
Deport every single one of them.
In this country, will be...
Deport all of them.
Long-term fiscal costs to pulling at the threads of our society, and hardly any of them have ever been deported. Less than 5% have been removed from the country. So I think that the government has got so many fires it needs to put out on this, and it's instead going down this managerial approach, which can make it sort of seem like a numb, arcane administrative process, when it's actually what we're talking about here is the well-being and safety of our country and our society.
Couldn't agree more. And yet,
Ben points out a good one there. He says, don't forget that a lot of them have been at their asylums rejected in the countries they've entered previously. You know, how many times have we turned on the news to see this man wanted by Syria, this man wanted by this country for murder, and then you find out he's in England? We used to be one of the greatest nations on earth. We used to be so good at the control of what goes on in this country. I mean, I saw a video earlier on, you might have seen it on social media, one of the towns and, the little villages in the UK, over the weekend, a woman was talking in public where you've got all of the shops, and she was just standing there with a microphone and talking, and she had a little daughter there, probably 4 or 5 years old, and she was talking and she got tearful, and she said, I want my daughter to be raised in this area like I was, like she lived, I don't know, the little village, wherever she lives, you know, horses, farms and all of that sort of stuff. I want my child to be raised here, to go out in the streets on her bicycle, to go out and have fun with her friends. And then they're putting, or attempting to put 1,200 men in the area, which completely overshadows and overrules the actual size of the community by about 500 people or something. So she's worried about it. And I mean, can you blame her? Can you blame her? So the big question here is, has Britain removed fewer than 5%? Because that's what we were looking at. And the answer to that is yes. on that specific claim, Bates there is right. The Home Office's own figures say that 7,612 people who arrived by small boat between 2018 and the end of 2025 had been returned from the UK, or had been returned from the UK. So that works out at 4%. And for a bit of perspective on that, only 299 people have arrived this way during the whole of 2018. So that 4% does include people whose asylum cases were still being processed. So pretending every remaining person was eligible for removal would be wrong. But politically, you don't need to exaggerate this. Years of governments promising to get control of the channel, and their own published figure says 4% have been returned. That's absolutely nothing. Now, that's what I'm saying. It's no wonder people are laughing at the United Kingdom. Now, if you want to know why people have completely lost patience with the system, there's your answer. That's why there's been so much backlash. That's why we're always talking about it. There it is in black and white from the government statistics. Let us know what you think about that one. Crazy stuff. Absolutely crazy stuff. Right, the next one, boys and girls. Oh, I'll tell you what I do want to actually speak about. I don't know if I've got it. Did you hear about the actress who passed away? In fact, let's go to that next, because this is actually really sad. This upset me this morning, like really upset me, because here we go. Let's get the page up. This is just tragic.
Actor Hayden Panettiere has died at the age of 36. This morning, tributes are pouring in for her, who's known for roles on Nashville and Heroes. CBS News' Bradley Blackburn has a look back at her life and career.
This morning, authorities in Greenville, South Carolina confirmed the shocking death of Hayden Panettiere. EMS responded to a 911 call Sunday afternoon from an apartment complex where the actress was reported unresponsive.
And I don't mean it like that, like all sexy girl and all of that. I don't mean it like that in a disrespectful way. But I really liked her. It was the TV show Heroes, which probably most of you first see her on. And I remember watching Heroes, and she played a girl called Claire. And I remember the dad calling her Claire Bear. And I just had a soft spot for her. She was like one of the main characters in it. I really, really liked her. I thought, that girl is awesome. Then, of course, as a horror fanatic, I remember her being in Scream. She was in a couple of Scream movies. So I was like, oh my God, it's Claire Bear from Heroes. She's just one of those ladies. I liked her. And she was married to Klitschko, the boxer. So it's just, and they got divorced and all of that. Maybe that's had some sort of impact on her health and her mental state. But I just think it's sad. I hate seeing stories like this of such a beautiful young woman, for whatever reasons are, that's no longer with us at 36. That's just so sad.
She was given medical assistance, but later pronounced dead at the scene. Her father issued a statement saying, quote, "She was an incredible light and a force of nature who brought immeasurable love and joy to all who knew her and to the millions who watched her on screen."
You know, a good friend of mine once said it's more important to be honest with yourself and happy than popular.
The star of TV shows like Heroes and
That's how I remember Claire Bear. And I think her like superpower was like she was invulnerable. I can't even remember. I remember the first season and I absolutely loved it. It was such a good show. And she was like the main thing, and it was all focused around her. And she would get shot and it would automatically heal and all of this stuff. But she was really good in it. And I was like, yeah, she's going to have a good career. You know, when someone just stands out, I just thought, yeah, I like her.
Nashville lived nearly all her life in the public eye. Her career spanned more than 3 decades. One of her early roles was in the film Remember the Titans alongside Denzel Washington.
Still weak on the left side.
We're not weak on the left side.
In 2006, Heroes made her a household name, and Panettiere became a frequent target of paparazzi. She spoke openly about dealing with addiction, and in 2014 entered treatment for postpartum depression after giving birth to her first child. She later gave primary custody of her daughter to her ex-fiance.
Back in the 2000s, there were no boundaries at all. It was rough and tough.
Earlier this year, Panettiere released a memoir and spoke to CBS Mornings about her struggles.
It kind of paints the picture again that we've seen so many times with Hollywood, with child actors, you know, people being put into the spotlight at that age and them spiraling out of control. I remember when I was growing up, it was Corey Haim, who was in The Lost Boys and countless other, License to Drive. I love that dude. River Phoenix was another one. Stand By Me. What an incredible, Joaquin Phoenix's older brother. What an incredible young talent. Even now, when you watch a movie like Stand By Me and the performance of River Phoenix, he was years older than his age, if that makes sense. He was wiser than his age, even when you look at his performances now. And I think in years to come, people will look back at the cinematography of, say, Stephen King, who wrote the book of Stand By Me. I think even kids now that are born now will watch that film in 15 years and go, that guy, who's that guy? Where is he? That guy stand, because he just had this magic. He just had this magic. And it's really, really sad what happens to a lot of these youngsters.
Life quakes.
Life quakes. Yeah.
And you get through it how?
You get through it by time, finding good therapists, being willing to reflect, check in with yourself.
Yeah.
You know, really do the work.
No cause of death was announced, and her family asked for privacy. Panettiere would have turned 37 this Friday. Bradley Blackburn, CBS.
Yeah, God rest her soul, man. I had love for her. Hayden. You know what I mean? She's just one of them I liked. Yeah, God rest her soul. So I saw that this morning. It was one of those where I was like, you're kidding me. You know? Absolute kick in the teeth. Okay, so God rest your soul, girl. I'll see you in heaven when I get there, but not yet. Not just yet. So the next story we're going to get into, I was going to play a video, but I might actually read something about it, because you might have seen this over the weekend, maybe on some of the news channels. You might have seen this in your local newspapers and that. This is about freedom of speech in the United Kingdom, which has been an ongoing argument for the last, couple of years. We've had arguments about freedom of speech, and you've had the whole thing with Trump. Remember Trump and Keir Starmer? Oh, yeah, we've had freedom of speech for quite some time. Fuck off, Starmer. Yeah, mug. But we've had another example now of something that's happened. And again, I'm bringing it to light because I don't know how many of you have seen this story. So Stephen Gray, the gentleman we're going to be speaking about, spent nearly 30 years with Cleveland police. And after retiring, he ended up on the other side of the courtroom because he reposted a Facebook joke about Islam. A joke. He was convicted of a crime at Newton Aycliffe Magistrates Court on the 30th of April 2026, and he's now speaking about it publicly after a district judge ruled the post was grossly offensive, and he is now appealing with backing from the Free Speech Union. Now, what makes this interesting is the argument Gray makes next about this. He says Britain has effectively created a blasphemy law for Islam through the back door. Again, we've heard that argument many times before, and there are the Islamophobia laws that they're still working on. Yeah, but while jokes about Christianity would never receive this same treatment, so here's the question, right? Have we actually reached a point where insulting Islam or joking is being treated like blasphemy in Britain? So what I'm going to do is go over to the Free Speech Union now and read out what they have posted, because it is rather, I think it's quite disturbing, and it might be offensive to some people, this joke. Let me just double check that I've got the share screen. Sorry, Free Speech Union. There we go. Right. So let me just double check there. Yeah, the thing closed down. Right, okay, I'll make the text a little bit bigger. That's what she said. Wrong page. Is that better? I think that's better, isn't it? Right, here we go. So, former police officer and foster parent Stephen Gray, who was convicted of a criminal offence for sharing grossly offensive content under the Communications Act 2003 after reposting a Facebook joke about Islam, has warned that blasphemy law is back in Britain. I watched an interview with him over the weekend, and he's starting to appear on different platforms now. So I thought, I better bring it up. Stephen, 65, is now appealing his conviction from April this year with the help of the Free Speech Union. So here was exactly what happened. A district judge deemed Stephen's resharing on Facebook of an image of some bacon and a man in a turban alongside the caption, "Fun facts about bacon. People who ate bacon have a lower chance of marrying a 9-year-old." Now, I think that's hilarious. That's a funny joke. That's the sort of thing I would expect Ricky Gervais to tell on one of his Netflix stand-ups, right? Now, in the United Kingdom, to the best of my knowledge, you're allowed to say something that may offend people. You're allowed to make a joke about Jesus, about Guru Nanak, about Sikhs, about the temple, about Hindus. You're allowed to do that in this country. It's not a crime, but apparently it is. So people who eat bacon have a lower chance of marrying a 9-year-old. Obviously, this is a reference to Prophet Muhammad marrying a 9-year-old to be grossly offensive. Now, you could look at that and go, yeah, if I'm a Muslim, I'd look at that and go, oh, you're mocking the Prophet, or you're being insulting. That's out of order. You've got every right to think that. You've got every right to that opinion and feeling and to be offended if you want to be offended. But it's not a crime. It's not illegal. It's not against the law. I'm allowed to joke. I'm allowed to make fun of something. You're allowed to make fun of me. Look at me. Look how old I am. I'm going bald. You know what I mean? That's what this country is about. So Gray said, I made a joke, an ironic joke about Islam. That is all it was at the end of the day, a joke. Bearing in mind, he's now got a criminal conviction for this. A criminal conviction for this. So when you hear about free speech in England, we don't have, that's not free speech. That's not a crime in England. A joke I certainly never, not for 1 second, thought it would be deemed abusive. Like maybe offensive, yeah. Like you can make racist jokes. Probably the best jokes you can make, you know. My favourite comedians, as you lot know, were Richard Pryor, Bernie Mac. Everything to do with racism and all of that by black comics is my favourite comedy. It's just what I find funny because it's a joke. It's not, you know, it's not real. Break the boundaries, man. Stephen and his wife were gravely concerned about the outcome because they have fostered 6 children over the past 7 years. However, when he informed social services of his conviction, they rightly said that it was utter rubbish. Another thing to keep an eye on for this, as this becomes more mainstream, this story, you know, we were talking about Jason Arday and all of these people on the left, you know, you can't do this, it's racist, it's that, you can't hassle people. Watch all of those same people go at this guy when they read this story. Watch them all attack this man and his family. Watch it happen because we've seen it so many times before. So you will see the hypocrisy play out in real time. You're all going to see it. So we're seeing an alarming emergence of blasphemy law in the UK for Islam alone via the back door. And this has been accelerated by the government's official definition of Islamophobia, repackaged as anti-Muslim hostility. At the start of the year, the FSU secured a landmark victory for Hamit Koskan, who was initially convicted of an aggravated public order offence for burning the Quran. We covered that. I remember the gentleman who was going bald, who was initially convicted of an aggravated public order offence for burning the Quran outside the Turkish consulate in London. Now, you could look at that and go, is he out of order for doing that? I mean, I'm not particularly fond of Islam, as you well know. Do I think he's got the right to do it? Yes. Do Muslims have the right to be angry about it? Of course they do. It's their holy book. The same as if someone burnt the Bible, I wouldn't be too happy about it, but it doesn't mean I'm going to go and ask someone to be arrested and put in jail for it. It's a book. It's a book. That doesn't change my beliefs. Doesn't, as a Christian, it doesn't change anything that I believe or feel. It's not me that's going to be punished if they do it. They're the ones. If they burn the Bible, I believe you'll burn in hell for it. That's my feelings. If you want to do it, go ahead, mate. You're the idiot. But let's carry on. Stephen said he believes prosecutions such as his are on an attempt to revive blasphemy laws in the UK. He said, I just think it's a dangerous road that the government is going down, trying to use the justice system to get us to stop criticising a religion that promotes a lot of things people might not agree with. So they're doing it slowly but surely in England. Slowly but surely. You can't do this. You can't say that. You can't call out Jason Arday for his potential lies. You know, apparently he ran 35 marathons in 30 days or 30 days at 35. I mean, that's 920 miles, roughly. That's from the south of England all the way up to Scotland. So he was basically gold medal standard Olympic best runner on planet Earth, apparently, Jason Arday. He was one of the greatest runners to ever exist, but he decided not to be a runner. Anyway, no one making a similar joke about Jesus would face prosecution. Blasphemy laws were abolished in England 18 years ago and should not be resurrected by the courts and applied to just one religion. Yeah, I completely agree. Oh, look, Nikki's here. Hi, Nikki. Hello, Nikki. So, yeah, this whole thing, again, is going to be ongoing. This is the gentleman here. So you're going to see him over the news, probably over the next week or so, doing the rounds. But I find it really concerning that this is even a topic of discussion that we're having right now, amongst many things. So have we brought back an Islamic blasphemy law? Legally, no, we haven't. Gray was convicted under Section 127 of the Communications Act of 2003, which makes sending a grossly offensive message for a public electronic communications network an offence. But who gets to decide what's grossly offensive? If someone messaged me and said, well, grossly offensive, I mean, that term, grossly offensive, we've all been abused on social media. So really, we could sue everyone then. We're opening the door to that. The law itself does not mention Islam, Muslims, or blasphemy, but this is where the free speech argument gets uncomfortable. Gray, this gentleman here, former police officer, reposted a joke criticising an Islamic religious figure. A judge decided the joke crossed the criminal threshold, and now he's got a conviction while his appeal is still pending. So no, Parliament has not written an Islamic blasphemy law. They've not done that. But from the free speech perspective, the bigger concern is whether broad, grossly offensive laws are ending up doing much more the same job of what we're talking about. If criticising or mocking a religion lands somebody in a criminal court, arguing over what label we, give the law starts to feel like missing the bloody point. To me, and I expect many of you, this does feel like a cut down on freedom of speech in this country. And again, when was the last time you turned on the TV and watched a stand-up comedian or a comedy show, like a skit show like we used to have in the 80s and 90s? Wouldn't be allowed now. Even things like Desmond's. We've spoken about this on the channel before. Desmond's was one of my favourite TV shows ever. Oh, Pork Pie. Remember him? The show was brilliant. But that, what was the other one? Goodness gracious me. We've spoken about all of these. Some of the best comedies this country has ever had. 40 Towers, that would be banned. Only Fools and Horses, that would be banned. Everything this country represents. So when we're talking about the erosion of Great Britain as we know it, it's happening before our eyes. It's happening right in front of us, Anyway, so let us know what you think about that one. So let's say hello to Nikki. It's crazy how a judge is more offended over actual jokes than she is of marrying kids. Yeah, they use hate speech laws as blasphemy laws a lot. Yeah, I know, it's nuts. Good evening, gorgeous Gavin. Gorgeous, God, I haven't had a lady say that to me in a long time. Gorgeous Gavin. Do you know what? We were talking about the dating thing a little while ago, and obviously I've not been on any dates, but I was looking up the percentages of someone my age in their mid-40s. What's the likelihood of me meeting a woman around my age up to 10 years younger than me, right? What is the likelihood of me meeting someone in that age range of 5 to 10 years who is single and doesn't have kids? And the number is around 8% in the UK. So I'll be honest with you, I think I'm in trouble. I think I'm in trouble, mate. I really do. I'll have to just get a couple of cats. I'm all right with that. I'll be honest with you, I'm all right with that. Right, let's get on to our next one. My little bunny rabbits. How you doing, Nikki? Little Nickelback, you good? You good? And Gavin just did Mega Boats and American Net. Oh, thank you very much, Roops. Thanks, Roops. Thanks. Right, we're going to get into, we love a good debate on the show. So, when people kind of kick off with their debate. So I'll go back to the beginning of this video. Let me get 6 minutes in. Yeah, this is from earlier on. And this is continue on. So we all know what happened in Spain a couple of weeks ago. Morocco going into Spain with the Spanish border. Right, we all know what happened with, 100,000 men and people running across, and the abuse and the fires and the crime and stuff to women. Well, it's happening again. So I think we should cover it because, again, it's not just England that's being affected by all of this madness. Right, let's get into the next one, kids. Let's get into the next one. This is a bit that I suppose politicians, I just think we should just, let's just watch it, because this is bizarre, all right?
Watch as migrants launch a fresh onslaught on the Spanish border for the second time. Thousands of men could be seen running down the hill seeking entry to Ceuta from Morocco, but were quickly dispersed by police who had been expecting them. For the past 2 weeks, Moroccan police had erected checkpoints on the roads leading to Ceuta and putting suspected migrants back on buses to their hometowns. The migrants, however, were undeterred. These men from sub-Saharan Africa were seen heading through the hills en route to Europe.
Like, that's scary. Like, a lot of us, half of us are fellas, yeah, so we can deal with all this nonsense. Hello, Rex, how you doing? Well, if I was a lady, or if I was a young girl of 14, 15, and I was seeing this, and I go, right, we're going to have 1,000 of these guys, on the streets now near you. If I was a young girl, I would be a bit scared. I'll be honest with you, I'd be a bit worried.
This will be some of these migrants' fourth attempt to cross into Spain, encouraged by social media posts telling them they cannot be returned once they enter. The move comes after more than 70,000 migrants rushed Ceuta's border last month. Despite authorities claiming most were returned, thousands remain. Security had been beefed up on both sides of the border, after videos circulating on social media had been encouraging a mass second attempt on the 15th. This weekend saw...
And you know what's sad about it? All of these young girls there that I'm not saying all of these men are bad, and I hate speaking like this. I hate speaking like this, but it's done in an unvetted way. How do you know this guy in the yellow shirt hasn't murdered 10 women? You don't. And I'm not saying that he has. How do you know the geezer in the green there hasn't abused children? You don't. And then you've got all of these girls here. Yeah, go on, come in. And they don't know or understand at that age. They don't really understand what they're inviting. That's why we have borders.
The remaining migrants protest on Ceuta's beach demanding asylum. The previously clean, empty beach, used by tourists and locals alike, has turned into a makeshift migrant camp, with shelters constructed using cardboard and other junk. Spain's Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez has come under considerable pressure from the EU, who holds him responsible for ineffective policing of the union's border.
I mean, I'm going to say it and play a bit of the middle ground here once again. Some of these guys here, there've got to be some guys here that are flipping decent blokes. There has to be, by majority, if you've got 100,000 people, there's got to be some blokes here that are really bloody good men, yeah? I'm not denying that. But without proper vetting to find, right, there's a good person, there's a bad person, who are you, where do you come from, what's your background, where's your passport, what's your history? Without all of that properly being done, which it isn't, because if it was, we wouldn't see the crime stats that we're seeing all across Europe. I mean, we've had 25 terror attacks in 2026 in Europe from January until today. 26 terror attacks. Now, how does that happen if you're checking people, if you're keeping watch on things? It doesn't happen.
Italy and other countries have reintroduced border checks with Spain.
Now, that's what I'm saying. Imagine your children walking around there on the weekend, and it's a lovely, you know what I mean, a lovely town, lovely little city, and they're walking around, and then you see all of that running towards your 10-year-olds and 12-year-old little girls. That would scare the crap out of me. I'd be like, nah, I'm not having that. So anyway, this stops being about a report about migrants at the Spanish border and turns into a proper argument about what Europe is becoming. Matthew Stadlin, everyone's favourite ginger, pushes back on the language of invasion and says migration is being framed far too dramatically. So again, it's these same people on the left playing it down as they do. While Kwasi Kwarteng and Lord Maurice Glasman argue voters across Europe are already giving their answer by moving towards parties promising stronger borders, national sovereignty and tougher immigration controls. What's the lady's name in France they tried to ban with the blonde hair? What's her name? I forgot her name. But she's going to be running an next election in France. I think she'll probably win. Why do you think Reform is growing? Why do you think Restore Britain is doing so well? Because people have had enough. Anyway, Glasman finishes with an even more serious warning about border security and foreign threats. So with this one, here's the thought to keep in mind. Are people across Europe being whipped into some imaginary panic about immigration by people like me? Are we whipping up this hatred? Or are voters reacting to problems their governments spend years refusing to control? So let's get into this one. 6 minutes. Was it 6 minutes or 8 minutes? 8 minutes. Right, here we go.
As the Brexit opens up, then we'd be in an excellent state because all these countries would be behind us.
Lord
Le Pen,
Morris,
thank you, Ben.
superb contributions to start the show there.
Yeah, that's right, from France, Marie Le Pen.
Matthew Stanton, let's bring you in. The European Union promised an umbrella of protection to maintain peace, market opportunities, but at the central core was freedom of movement. It's turned out to be a complete disaster.
I almost cracked a smile open in your introduction, Martin, because you were doing another of your disaster movie intros.
That's it summed up in a nutshell. He's just watched a video of 100,000 people illegally entering a country. We know that they committed crimes. We know that they abused women because they've come out and been interviewed. And he's saying, you're making out it's a disaster. Well, what the hell is it then, Matthew?
Is that like a comedy movie to you?
It was as if the barbarians were not just at the gate, but they were swarming all over us.
Show those pictures, please, Daniel. Get them on our screens.
Bear any sort
what does that look like to you?
Any sort of reality.
So he's saying swarming all over you. What does that look like? A swarm is a mass of something. A swarm of bees, a mass of something. That's a mass of people.
As you know,
a swarm of people.
The vast majority of those people have gone back to Morocco.
For now.
And what I find actually interesting about European Union countries beginning to shut down their borders temporarily or limiting the Schengen Agreement, of which, of course, we were not part, is that in this country, the debates...
Yeah, I mean, does that look friendly to you? Look at that. Right? He's going, you're making out as a disaster. Watch the footage with your own eyes.
Schengen Agreement, of which, of course, we were not part, is...
Right, so imagine, look, what is that? Constables. I'm guessing that's like a shop. I'm guessing that's a shop of some kind. So I'm expecting the family probably live upstairs because they've got clothes on the outdoors that looks like some kids' clothes. So you've got children in there and you've got migrant men smashing through the place while children in there, and you don't know who the men are, and you're saying it's nothing to worry about. I mean, these people are deluded.
That in this country, the debate seems always to be framed as if migration, and there are issues with migration, even though net migration is massively down in this country, is a UK-specific problem.
Let's try and keep this onto European content if we can, please.
But it is not, because actually migration, and indeed illegal migration, is an issue that European countries are wrestling with, perhaps even more than we are. So I think that what's helpful, actually, for the GB News viewer, I hope, is helpful to me as a reminder, is that this is not a UK-specific issue. It is...
Right. Well, I want to call you out, Matthew, because it's not a UK-specific issue. No one's claimed it's been a UK-specific issue. It's just that we've been complaining about it for 20 years, which is why we pushed for Brexit, and they did not deliver. The Conservatives, the Labour Party, did not deliver control of our borders, and we've been going on and on and on about it, and you've been saying that we were wrong. Now you're saying, oh, it's not just the UK that's dealing with this. No, we were just one of the first ones to speak up about it, along with, is it Hungary or Poland that closed their borders? Like, hello? It's like you have to wait for the disaster to happen and then go, this isn't too good, is it? And speaking of which, we're going to be calling out someone in a minute who's on the left side of politics, and I'm going to laugh my arse off because he's been accused of assaulting a girl, and I think it's funny. And I shouldn't say that, but I think that it's funny because these same people are the ones that created this rule, believe all women. It doesn't matter whether you've ever met the woman. No, it doesn't matter. Believe them. Matthew Kelly, life destroyed. Who's the other? Michael Barrymore, life destroyed about that crime. It doesn't matter. Just believe Russell Brand, before he's even convicted, before there's even a trial, he's guilty. These are the sort of people that push that narrative.
Something that we as a continent are dealing with. But the idea that somehow we've been invaded by these terrible people, of course there are going to be some wrong-uns in there, and we've seen that. But the idea that the million Syrians who Angela Merkel welcomed into Germany are part of the destruction
I suppose you should look at a video of Germany, my friend. Look at Frankfurt, look at Dortmund, look at Berlin, look at Bremen. Look at the state of the streets now, with zombified people sitting on the streets, homeless, selling crack, doing meth on the streets of Germany. Germany never used to be like that. I've been to Germany many times. I love Germany and I love Germans. I do. I love the Germans. Jokes aside, I do. I genuinely love the Germans. I've got Jewish blood. But there's a history as to why I love German people. When I went over there, it changed my perception of the people that live there now. They would never have put up with this. And for him to sit there and say it's not a problem, he is straight up lying.
Of Europe is just a nonsense. You talked about the cancer of anti-Semitism. I'm half Jewish myself. There is also something called the cancer of Islamophobia, and I see far too much of that at the moment.
The cancer of Islamophobia. All right, well, here's one for you. The Muslim Brotherhood is a prescribed terrorist organisation in majority of places in Europe and in the United States. It's not a terrorist organisation in the UK. We're going to be getting into that soon anyway, the Muslim Brotherhood. Because once you start hearing about that, and it comes onto things like GB News in more detail, you can have people like him defending it.
In debate in this country and in other countries.
Kwasi Kwarteng, Lord Maurice Glassman there nailed it. There has been a democratic reaction and a revolt to open borders, Nirvana, to spiralling terrorism, immigration, Islamism, crime, guns, drugs, Russian destabilisation. The voters are voting with their feet.
That's obviously the case. I mean, I heard, I was going to call him Nicholas, that was your...
By the way, a stat that I read earlier on, again, this will be done in a video, but just while I can recall it, while this man is not saying it's a swarm of people and it's not a problem, do you know that there's an assault on a woman now in England? 8 women are assaulted in England every single hour of every single day. Do you know that? Every day there's 8 women at least who are 8 women an hour are assaulted by the statistics of what's going on. So don't tell me it's not a problem.
Father's name, but I was saying, Matthew, I listened to you and I thought, what planet are you on?
Same one as you, Kwasi.
Well, I'm not quite sure you are, because clearly what I see, or what Morris sees, is a Europe that is almost in open revolt against the philosophy that drove the EU. The EU, let's not forget, was all about open borders. It was all about, as Morris said, reducing the influence and power of the nation state. What they're doing now, what these countries are doing, is erecting borders and trying to consolidate the power of the nation state. Because as we've heard Meloni, as we're seeing in Germany, Le Pen, for crying out loud. Exactly. I mean, Le Pen, I remember when her father stood in 2002, I happened to be in Paris, he got 18%. She is now, 24 years later, 25 years later, in
I hope she wins, Le Pen. France needs that.
Pole position, perhaps.
Whether you like Donald Trump or not, America needed Donald Trump with his first election. Whether you like him or not is irrelevant, because he said, the minute I get in, I will close the borders. And within 6 weeks, it went from, I don't know how many, 300,000 a month to 0. That's the difference of a leader.
To win. So something has changed enormously, and to pretend that this is just all imaginary and that people are making things up and aren't seeing the actual picture, I think is really naive.
I haven't pretended there's not an issue, Martin.
You didn't address it once.
No, I've
once.
objected to the way Martin framed this as though we are being invaded by hordes, and clearly...
Well, we are, because we just reported that 230 people came on one boat. Is that not an invasion of people? It's not 1 or 2 people, Matthew. It's 230 on one boat. We've just seen 100,000 people do it, and we're seeing it again today with Spain. What are you talking like? What would he consider too much?
A lot of people in this country and other countries feel that, and I'm saying that is not the case. It doesn't mean that migration and illegal migration are not issues that are felt keenly. Clearly they do, because as we've seen, the rise is undoubtedly on the right.
That's right.
I'm trying to reframe the way this is being described. I'm not denying that there are issues.
But instead of getting your retaliation in first, why don't you talk about what we're actually...
Well, you worry about what you're saying, and I'll worry about what I'm saying.
What is the actual subject? We've been talking about the EU. You've brought it into the context of the UK. We're talking about what's happening to the EU. Morris did an excellent introduction to the fact that the EU itself is under...
And do you know what I love so much about this gentleman in the glasses? I don't know if any of you noticed, but he isn't white. Have any of you noticed that? I did straight away, because it makes me happy seeing this gentleman, because every time I see him, he calls out the crap that's going on in Europe, and he calls out the crap. Now, if I'm supposedly far right and all of you viewers are far right, why are we all backing this man and cheering this man? Because he wants what's best for the country and what's best for the people in Europe, to keep the people safe, to keep the women safe, to keep the children safe. So it's not about racism at all, which that alone proves it.
The threat.
There's no doubt it's under strain. There's absolutely
it's
no
under
doubt
threat.
about that.
The actual principle of it, in terms of the freedom of movement, in terms of the reduction of the power of the nation state, all of these things, these two fundamental things, are being reversed as we speak.
Lord Maurice Glassman, final word to you tonight.
Well, I'm obviously sympathetic to what Kwasi is saying there, but it is a profound issue, what's going on. The whole thing was based on the post-war settlement, and we've got to remember that what Europe did, and particularly what Germany did, but it was all huge all over Europe, was unforgivable and despicable. So there was a human rights regime, and this was the whole thing. We shouldn't fight, and everybody has to have human rights. That has been targeted and manipulated. Particularly, I've got information that Iran is basically in control of Calais. They're bringing in IRGC sleeper agents across the channel. So obviously the first thing is we've got to wake up and secure our borders. But the second thing is that the people in Europe are not having it anymore. And they're moving in this way, and this will be misunderstood entirely as populism and the rise of the far right. It's just some notion of nation-state sovereignty which will return.
Lord Maurice Glassman,
top man, well said. I like him. Yep, exactly. Calling it out as it is. I mean, people have watched governments struggle with illegal migration across Europe, asylum pressures and border enforcement. They've seen it all. And then they have gone to the ballot box and punished them for it, like they've done with the reform here. They've gone and voted with their voice. Calling everyone far-right populist or Islamophobic doesn't really answer the concern that people have, does it? If governments refuse to deal with what voters are worried about, voters eventually find somebody else who says that they're going to listen to them. And that's what we're seeing throughout Europe. Right, ladies and gentlemen, before we finish, and stay as well, the regulars, because we're going to have, our usual chat and everything. There's something that I want to show you, because I said to you, I want to call someone out. And I think that this is funny, and it shouldn't be funny. But to me, I'm starting to react and behave like those on the left. And to be quite honest with you, it's about time people on the right use the same tactics the people on the left have been using for decades. Now, I'll explain what I mean. This gentleman here is a guy called Dean Withers. You may know him, you may not. But this is a young man who goes on debates. He's been on a channel called Jubilee. He's just one of thousands of people of this young generation that go around screaming about Trump, Epstein. He's done this to women, he's guilty of this, he done this to children, before there's been a trial. And that's what I was trying to say earlier on about Jason Arday, about other people that have been accused of things, Russell Brand. These people have done this to so many people, destroyed so many lives and so many careers without any evidence, only to find out later, oh, he wasn't guilty. The damage has already been done. The damage has been done. And the reason I feel so strongly about this particular subject is one of my best friends was accused of something with a woman, lost his career, almost lost his home, his family, and then 2 years later, it came out that she'd done this to multiple people. That doesn't matter now. Oh, well, it's okay, he's all right. No, he's not all right. He nearly took his own life. There's got to be men and women on here watching this who've gone, no, I know that's happened. And this doesn't disregard real instances. We're not talking about real instances of assault on women. I'm talking about fabrication. I'm talking about liars. Now, this young man here has been doing this to people, like you've all seen so many times of others on the left. He has just been accused of assaulting people. This young man has been accused of assaulting people, and he has a complete meltdown. But he was one of the people saying, believe all women. Believe all women.
Ask you a question. You work with kids. How do you feel about Donald Trump admitting?
Wait for it.
Wait for it.
Wait
to sexually exploiting naked women and kids on Howard Stern's radio show in 2005.
You sure about
See? So this is what these people do.
that? You sure about that? You sure about that?
And being credibly accused in the Epstein files of doing things
And you're,
to a kid.
and you're accused too, so what does that have to do with anything?
What?
You see what I mean?
Why would you say that?
You're getting...
Yes, don't cry. He's been accused of something. Now, it's probably fabrication. It's probably because, you know, he's in the public eye, someone dislikes him or whatever. But that's what's been happening to people on the right for decades. For decades. And we've seen it happen.
Don't cry, it's gonna be okay.
They're trying their best, guys.
Why is he getting
They're
upset?
trying their best, bro. They're really trying their best.
Now, I'm sorry, but I don't have, I have zero sympathy for him. I have zero sympathy for the people on the left. You know, it's people like Narinder Kaur, you know, the same sort of arguments of, oh, we need to have all of these migrant men coming in. They're all safe, and Bushra Sheikh and all of these people. No. They're all good. They're all good. When it affects them, when their little girl is taken, or when you're accused of something, whether it's false or true, when you're accused of it and everyone jumps on you the same way that you've been doing this to people for decades, it's not nice, is it? And this needs, I'm sorry, this needs to happen to more people on the left. And I'm not saying make false allegations. Of course I'm not. But they need to have a taste of their own medicine to say, this is what you've been doing. This is what you've been doing to people.
Fuck. Fuck, dude.
So I had to share that because I think it's hilarious. There's another guy as well. I don't know his name. The guy who's always on Piers Morgan, who who loved Joe Biden. I don't know his name. I can't remember his name. Harry Sissons. His name is Harry Sissons. He's another one who went on social media, done interviews. Trump has done this. He's done it, and he's made those claims. He's definitely done it. He's definitely okay. So when it happens to you, I'm just going to laugh because you don't wait for the trial. You don't wait for the facts. You go by your feelings and your emotions and your opinion rather than wait for the truth. If Trump is convicted of something and it's proven, he should go to jail. Anyone should. But these people don't wait. And I think people on the right need to start behaving the same way that they do. I know that's horrible. But anyway, we're going to leave it there, ladies and gents. We're going to be back live on Wednesday at 7 p.m. Tomorrow we've got videos at 4. So 4 p.m. 5 days a week, 4 p.m. video every day. We've done a video earlier on about Jason Arday where I was calling out all of those people on the left, Sadiq Khan, Dr. Shola. There's loads of people. So go and watch that video because I'll just go off on them. And I'm not going to stop doing that now. So I would like to say thank you for joining me, and the regulars, I shall see you on Wednesday. I'm actually going to go and eat some food now because I've not eaten yet. But it's the first one back. I've actually really enjoyed it. It's gone much faster than I thought. A lot quicker. What goes around comes around, says Freckles. What's happening, Jason? Edmonton, London. How you doing, my guy? How you doing? He got caught underage Snapchatting girls. Wowzers. Cheers, Ben. Yeah, it's nice to be back. It's going to take me a while to get back into that flow, you know, like the natural flow of things. But no, I really enjoyed that. So I'm going to go and make myself some food, and I shall return Wednesday, 7 p.m. Thank you so much for joining me. Welcome back, everyone. And we will do our, you know, chilled members streams again. We will get back into them because I do miss them and chilling with you guys. I miss the just sitting here talking rubbish. I miss it. I do miss it. So we'll be doing that again soon. Probably I won't be doing it Friday. I've got my niece coming down, so I'm actually not babysitting because she's not a baby, but I'm looking after her on Thursday, and I said I'd take her McDonald's and go to the park and feed the ducks. So that's just me. So don't tell anyone I'm soft because I'm not, but I'm actually really looking forward to that. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you very much for joining me. Peace and love, ladies and gentlemen, and I shall see you in the next live stream. I suspect. I'm a PC gamer now, so I might go and jump on. No, I'm not gonna. I'm gonna go and cook. But yeah, I'll see you guys soon. Thank you so much. Peace and love you lots.